Hey howdy hey, what is going on you guys? It is Pirate here with another video. Now in today's video we're going to be building a bioactive setup. Now I always ask you guys what kind of videos you want to see from me, and one of the most common answers from y'all is building a bioactive setup. Now I try to do as many bioactive setups as I can on my videos, but the only issue is so many of the enclosures in my reptile room are already bioactive. That cage is bioactive, that cage is bioactive, that cage is bioactive, that cage is bioactive, that's bioactive, 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 bioactive. You kind of get where I'm going with this. So many of the enclosures in the reptile room have already been set up bioactive. And you can see I don't have much more space in this reptile room, so it's not like I could just do an entire new setup. I barely had room for that big old cage. Eventually I'm going to be upgrading this cage here, and of course some of these 40 gallons. But when you're building things like a 40-gallon enclosure, that requires a little bit more time and research to make sure that you're building and setting up the enclosure properly for whatever animal you plan on housing. So I do promise you guys that eventually I'll be doing this enclosure with the bioactive and all that good stuff. Same thing with this enclosure, same thing with Gucci's enclosure, and definitely with this one. I've actually got a custom cage being built for this area here. It'll literally take up this entire shelf space, but that'll be a whole nother video. But anyhow, in today's video, we're going to be turning this Crested Gecko enclosure right here into a bioactive setup. The one next to it is already built bioactive and everything like that, so it's time to turn this one into a bioactive enclosure. But as you can see, it's not the prettiest setup. There's all sorts of freaking marks on the glass. So what we're going to do is get this enclosure pulled down. We're going to take all the plants and decor out and just start wiping it and cleaning it. So we've got our enclosure down. Let's open it up and see if we can find the little inhabitant that is in here. We're going to take this plant out. We don't need that plant over there. Let's see here. We'll be very careful. I think I know where this little dude is at, and I actually can see him. If y'all look closely, look right there. Let's take this little coconut hide off. Let go. Let go, homie. There he is. There's our little gecko. What a gorgeous Crested Gecko it is. It's actually a male, as you can tell. Now this guy will be breeding with my female Crested Gecko as soon as I get them paired together. But that is our little gecko that will be going in this enclosure. Alrighty, we got our little dude right here. We're literally just going to set his deli cup right there while we remodel and redecorate his home. But now let's get this glass clean and those dirty paper towels out and kind of make it look brand spanking new. Whoa! Well, if you look closely, the paper towels are gone and the glass is clean. So now what we're going to do is... Oh my... What the f... Oh. So now what we're going to do is set the camera down and very carefully lay this on its back. Just like that. So that we can start choosing what pieces of cork and wood that we want to go in the enclosure. Alright y'all, so it's been a good couple of minutes and you can kind of see how we have positioned our wood. Once we get the foam in and everything else in, it'll look super dope. But I think that makes a really nice naturalistic setup for a Crested Gecko. One thing you really want to focus on, especially if you're doing a setup for a Crested Gecko, is lots of branches. All these branches that we have kind of going across the background are going to allow the gecko to change levels, go higher, lower, all depending on what he's, I guess, in the mood for. So we've got our cans of foam for this enclosure. Now I have two cans. This can's like half full. This one's completely full. So I'll use what I need on the foam and then save the rest for later. Hey, without further ado, it's time to get foaming. That was stupid. Alright, anyways, continuing along. Now that we've gotten the foam in, we must work quickly, grab our jungle mix here. It's completely dried out just so that it sticks better to the foam. We're literally going to get a good scoop here and just coat all this foam here with dirt, and we're just going to kind of keep repeating that process till all the exposed foam is covered with dirt. Well y'all, now that we've gotten the dirt coated, we're going to let this sit for about an hour, maybe 2 hours, until the foam completely hardens and dries. Alrighty y'all, let's go see how our tank is doing here. Alrighty, the foam has expanded quite a bit as you can see, but when we touch it, it is firm to the touch. It is not bending or squishing in, so that means the enclosure is good to get stood up. So now without further ado, let's close these doors up here. Let's start standing this cage up very slowly and see how it looks. Oh, this jungle bag. Oh, come on dude, get out of the way homie. And look at that. Look at how this enclosure looks That looks pretty darn dope. Obviously, a plant will go there. We've got our whole background going. That looks sick. I'm gonna go ahead and put this tank on the rack, and then we'll start setting it up. We are making some serious progress. Now we're gonna take all that dirt out and add our drainage layer. Now, I've said it a million times, but the drainage layer, those little pebbles right there, is what is really going to hold up your enclosure in the long run. Main reason why is as that dirt gets sprayed down and water starts to build up, it'll have somewhere to drain to instead of just building up in the enclosure. And if it does build up in the enclosure, then your plants die and the dirt gets absolutely saturated. Now that our drainage layer is in, it's time to add our mesh. Once again, the mesh divides the dirt from the drainage layer. Once we've added our mesh, then we'll add the substrate. Well, y'all, now that we've gotten our substrate mix in here, we're going to start adding some of our magnolia pods, our leaf litter, and then of course this little piece of cork, just so that when I dump isopods in here, they have somewhere to hide. Then we're going to get a handful of live oak leaves, a good solid handful. Try not to drop any everywhere. Boom. We're just going to smack it right up here. I almost missed all of that. Smack it right up there, create a nice layer of leaves. This allows the springtails and isopods to lay their eggs and eat on these leaves. Then we're going to get our little magnolia pod. We're going to just chunk it right in there. The springtails will start to crawl in and out of this thing, have their babies on this thing. I mean, these magnolia pods truly work miracles. Now that we've done that, it's time for the fun part, and that is planting the enclosure. Now the plants I have for this is this big boy. We got some bromeliads, we got this little fern here, and we're gonna kind of just place them in and out of the enclosure where we think looks best. Well, y'all, I am now done planting the enclosure. Now if you ask me, this cage looks absolutely sick. We've got our big plant right there, our brom there, our little small fern right over the far end, and all sorts of moss across the background. I mean, if you ask me, that looks like a pretty dope setup, especially for a crested gecko. But don't forget to let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Now, before we get this enclosure completely set up, we gotta get some isopods and springtails from up top, bring them down here, dump them, and introduce them into this enclosure. We're gonna go for this one right here. This tub has my orange Scaber isopods in it. I'm gonna bring it down, set it right on the carpet, open it up, and let's take a look. So look at all those little springtails. You see all those little springtails running around? Those are absolutely perfect. Then look at all those little orange isopods. Let's flip it over before they go too crazy. That is literally what we're going to be dumping in this enclosure. Well, if you look really closely, all those little white dots moving around are a bunch of springtails we just dumped in. We also dumped in some isopods, but then they instantly just went under the leaves and stuff. If you look closely, there's actually one little guy. You can kind of see him right on my finger, and then he's gone. He kind of just disappeared in the moss. But there are a bunch of isopods in here nonetheless. Now that the enclosure is set up, it is time to get our little crested gecko here. Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. Come on. Look at how gorgeous this gecko is, y'all. Come on, let go, homie. Let go. Look at how gorgeous this gecko is. Absolutely beautiful crested gecko. And he's getting a new home. But once it is breeding season, he will be breeding, and then he won't be in this enclosure. But you kind of get the gist. Go free, buddy. Go free. Go ahead. You're on your own, buddy. See you later, dude. See ya. Well, y'all, this dude is now set up. So now this entire shelf right here is all Bioactive setups. We got our boy Chubbs on a Bioactive setup. We got our other crested gecko wherever she's at on a setup. And then, of course, her future boyfriend, this dude right here, also in a Bioactive setup. Now, this setup's more or less like a vacation home for him, because him and this other female here, when it is breeding season, are going to be breeding together. So they'll be taken out of their enclosure and separated into a different tub to breed. But then when breeding season is over, this dude will go back in his enclosure and live his best life. Well, y'all, that was building a Bioactive setup for my crested gecko. I hope y'all enjoyed. I mean, look at that dude. An absolutely gorgeous gecko just chilling in his home. Now, if you guys enjoyed today's video, definitely be sure to drop a like. It lets me know if y'all enjoyed and if it was worth your time watching. Now, after you've liked, of course, make sure to follow my Instagram, TheRealPyroToadYT. It's always linked in the description, and you can get sneak peek updates on videos that I might be doing. So please follow my Instagram. Once you've done that, follow my TikTok. It's somewhere linked in the description. I haven't done the little icon thing, but it's somewhere in the description. And lastly, but most importantly, make sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 3,000 subscribers. I say it every video, I already know, but we are growing so quickly, and I need you guys to subscribe so we can continue this path. With all that being said, all of my animals, and of course myself, will see each and every one of you back in the next video. I hope to see you back in the next video. If you don't come back, then what are you doing with your life? I'll see you on the next one. Peace! Look at this dude. Look at this dude. Look at this dude. Ah, you suck.